Welcome to this week's edition of the Scrimshaw Show. My name is Adam Scrimshaw. This is just going to be a mini episode covering the four NFL games on what is the weekend of my birthday. If you're listening to this on Saturday, I am now turning 27. I'm only really bringing this up because people, for some reason, seem to be convinced that I'm substantially older than I am, and I don't necessarily appreciate being unduly aged. So, yeah, I'm only turning 27, guys. Follow me on Twitter at eScrimshaw. Follow the show on Twitter at Scrimshaw_show. I'll be back next week with a politics topic. I'll probably do U.S. politics. I don't know if I'll have somebody on, but I'll probably do primary stuff after New Hampshire. The other reason I'm not doing anything about Iowa is that I'm going on Friday's PX3, which I am recording in 2 hours ish after I am recording this now. So frankly, if you wanted US politics takes, politics with my good buddy Justin Robert Young, you can find them there about my book Salvation in the Storm. So I'm thinking about doing this like every week next year, and so one of the things I'm basically using this as sort of a template for how to do it. But there are four, I think, really interesting games this week. We're gonna go. I guess we'll just go in time order. I mean, I don't have a lot of thoughts on Houston. Baltimore's really good. I kind of think we're all overrating them because the last time we saw Baltimore play a competitive set of football games, they beat the Niners in a game where Brock Purdy played the worst full game of football he has played as a professional, and then they beat the shit out of Miami. Well, is beating the shit out of Miami that impressive? I don't know. I mean, look at how Miami's gone out, right? 14 points against the Bills. Just a completely disgusting performance in Kansas City last week. And so if losing to the Dolphins is not nearly the impressive accomplishment that you sort of made it out to be, and again, we think that the Niners did not play particularly well, and we can accept that the Niners, did not play particularly well. And that was just kind of a bad, unrepresentative game from a San Francisco perspective, and not evidence that actually the Niners are like fraudulent. You do get to this point of, is Baltimore nearly as good as we think? The Texans, I think, are 9.5 point underdogs, depending on where you're looking right now. I kind of think Houston's going to be able to score, right? The Baltimore defense is good, yes, and they did shut down Miami. But again, that Miami offense is very, very hit or miss and has been missing far more than they've been hitting in recent weeks. But I mean, the Texans just put up, it wasn't quite a 40 spot of actual offensive scores because obviously there were the two pick sixes. But I mean, even if you just go by, the basic metrics, like Caesar Stroud was really, really good. He won a playoff game. The weather in Baltimore, I mean, it seems like it's going to be fine. Doesn't look like it's going to be horrific. Texans were a mid-pack offense, across the regular season, but that's weighed down by a few bad performances. I kind of think I think it's going to be competitive. I don't necessarily think it's going to be. I don't think Baltimore is going to lose. I think it's going to be a situation where Baltimore is sort of comfortably ahead for most of the game, but I just think that there's a better chance than I think a lot of people are giving that this Baltimore team is. I mean, this Baltimore team is not exactly what we want to think that they are, right? We've been thinking that they are this juggernaut that is going to roll, and I'm like, I don't know if that's really true because let's be honest here. Again, other than the Niners, like the Dolphins win doesn't look nearly as impressive. They've haven't played real football in 3 weeks. And the last time we saw Lamar Jackson coming off an MVP season, they went into Tennessee, or Tennessee went into town and beat beat the brakes off of the Ravens in probably the worst game I've ever seen Lamar Jackson play. Um, I could be mistaken, but I think that's also might be the last playoff game Lamar Jackson. It's the last playoff game Lamar Jackson. No, it's not. It's not the last one. It's the second last one. Although he didn't play um much better the playoff of the year later. But nah, you never know how much to take from that. Um, I just think it's fundamentally the least interesting game, mostly because like, are the Texans going to be able to get a backdoor cover? I don't know if that means anything, but I don't think the Texans have the defense to hang with Baltimore. That would be the concern. But other than that, I mean, I think the Ravens should be fine. The bigger and much more interesting question, of course, is Green Bay. The Packers are going into San Francisco, obviously. Similarly, big underdogs, but again, they were massive underdogs last week against Dallas and won. I think Green Bay has a chance. I don't think it's a good chance. But I do think that game is going to be a scorcher. I think that game is going to just be points, points, points. The thing about the Dallas defense that's very important to think about and to keep in mind when you're talking about this game is that they have one definitively good skill, which is they get after the quarterback. They might have the best pass rush in the league. And like Dallas last week, if you don't get there fast enough, the secondary is not great. And the mediocre secondary means that if you have a quick passing offense, you can beat this defense. You can put pressure on this defense, but usually the pass rush bails you out of those situations. That's been the thing that has gotten the Niners through is that, well, cool, great. If you have 3 seconds, then yeah, you can. There probably will be a wide receiver, but you're not going to get the time. I don't. Jordan Love can move. He doesn't love to run, but he can move. He showed it against Dallas. He was able to buy himself a few extra seconds, and he was therefore able to just collapse a mediocre secondary. The Niners have the same sort of fundamental flaw, and I think the Packers are going to be able to score. Now, that does not mean I think the Niners. To be clear, I do not think that means that the Niners are going to be in particular trouble in this game. I really don't think they are. I I mean, Green Bay's defense was 23rd in the regular season by EPA. Even as they were pitching a shutout until the final drive of the half, that was more about Dak playing one of the worst games he has played in a while, and Mike McCarthy calling, rushing plays on basically every second down and getting, I think at one point it was 5 rushing plays on second down for 8 yards. Like, they were leaving themselves obvious passing situations and not converting, but that's because you leave yourself in obvious passing situations. With a substantial upgrade in play caller capacity from Mike McCarthy to Kyle Shanahan, I don't think the Niners are going to find themselves in that situation again. The big thing I think in this game is going to be whether or not Matt LaFleur is sufficiently aggressive. Like, the Packers are an underdog. They really don't have any business winning this game. The Niners are a juggernaut. I think they should win easily. Like, I'm doing a pool with a few friends. Like, I'm picking the Niners. I have bet Green Bay's team total over 20.5. That would be my only substantive sort of betting advice. I don't take this as betting advice. It's not really what I mean from it. But that's what I meant. That's where I'm going with this. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be balls to the wall because LaFleur has to realize that he is an underdog and therefore he's going to have to be aggressive. The only concern would be it's a Joe Barry defense, and Joe Barry defenses are susceptible to the run, and I could see the Niners just Christian McCaffreying this for every drive. But I actually think the more likely outcome is that Joe Barry understands that, loads the box, and then it's George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, just seam route after seam route after seam route. um, to take advantage of the stuff box. Like I think that's more likely how the Niners are going to go about it. Um, I guess the interesting question would be, can Brock Purdy, if Purdy falls behind, can he come back? But I don't really think I don't really see a situation where the Packers have a big lead going into halftime or anything. And so I don't think it's a reasonable proposition. As much as I would love for Green Bay to win the Detroit game, I mean, honestly, I'm just gonna very quickly skim this. Detroit is better. Like, congrats to Baker Mayfield. I do genuinely enjoy your existence. The Bucks are not a good team. You scored 9 points against Carolina. You're 18th in the league by defensive EPA. You're 12th offensively. Like, you're a mediocre team. You're a mediocre team that got in because we have affirmative action for the NFC South. And then because the Eagles are, I don't even know what the fuck the Eagles are. Yeah, they won again. Congrats. So did the Beast Mode, the Marshawn Lynch. Was it Beastquake? Whatever. The Beast Mode run against New Orleans, great, cool. That team got run over the next week. That's you know these Bucks I think did scrape a winning record, but like these bad division winners, they don't win. They don't go. They don't make it another round. Lions are going to win. They're probably going to do very well. The Bucks defense doesn't pose any of the threats that Los Angeles did last week. I will say, I mean, it is moderately concerning that Tampa's offense just completely sputtered out in the back half of that game. I mean, I think they scored about 21 points in the first half, something like that. It is concerning. It's for sure concerning. I just don't think Tampa Bay is going to be the team to take advantage of this. Um, nor do I think that they, nor do I think that they have the offense to really match them, you know, line by line. I mean, Baker, I also think Baker's just going to be on his ass most of this game. Like the one definitively good thing the Lions have is a pass rushing. I think at the end of the day, that is a discernible tool that I'm going to trust, especially when the Lions are, eighth by EPA, like by the my preferred sort of all in offensive metric. And I mean, the defense is 21st, but like they've got a better, they're the best unit on the field is the Detroit offense. I'm going to trust that in that game. The hardest matchup is definitively Kansas City Buffalo. It's the small spread of the week. It's the game where there's the most like narrative interest, but it's also just a legitimately hard game to project who's going to win. It's difficult to work through for many reasons, but it's difficult to work through because this Chiefs team has not been good. This Chiefs team has been sputtering, limping, incoherent at the best of times. They have by next gen stats, Mahomes has lost more yards to dropped passes than any other quarterback in the league, has the highest share of dropped passes in the league. Um, there's, I mean, his receiving core is terrible. Travis Kelsey is just being, gotten, is being written out of every single game at this point. If the team has a coherent defensive philosophy, yeah, the Chiefs, beat the brakes off the Dolphins, but like the Chiefs also completely failed in the red zone last week. Was it the cold? Maybe, but like I tweeted on Monday when Nikki Haley didn't came third in Iowa, like I'm gonna blame that on the cold. I'm gonna blame getting the fact that I thought she was gonna come in second and she came in third wrong. I'm gonna blame it on the weather. The thing is that it's kind of a fine proposition for me because it's completely untestable. I'm gonna claim it because I need to, I'd want to claim, but I wasn't actually wrong. It doesn't make it true. The Chiefs' offense has sputtered this year at many times in many ways that have been uncharacteristic of the Mahomes era. They're not the team that we thought they were. They share a lot in common with a lot of like the mid to late era Aaron Rodgers teams, which is the team is good because having a quarterback of that caliber is enough to make you good. It is enough to get you over the line, but the problem is it's not enough to win you stuff. Like, yes, we talked about Mahomes in sort of generational terms, and obviously, I mean, he probably has already had a Hall of Fame career. If he were to retire tomorrow, he is probably a Hall of Famer. I get that. There is no doubting his talent. There's no doubting his ability. There's no doubting his aptitude. We're doubting whether or not Kansas City has put together a team that can do it. And I mean, the Chiefs kind of are who we said they were. They're 19th in the league in red zone offense. They only convert 52% of opportunities into touchdowns. Buffalo is fifth, and they convert 63% of red zone opportunities into touchdowns. This is a concerning fact for Kansas City. I don't trust their offense. Now, they could win. No one is denying that. But the red zone scoring is concerning. The consistent inability to get in when they get close is concerning. But what's also concerning is just like, is the defense as good as we think it is? Like fairly gaudy advanced stats. They have been good in a lot of ways, but I don't think they're the sixth best defense in the league, man. Like, I know that's what EPA says. I don't think they are. They've mostly benefited from what ended up being a fairly weak schedule in a lot of ways. The AFC West sucked this year. Denver couldn't score anything to save their lives. Vegas couldn't score to save their lives, and they got Easton Stick, not Justin Herbert, in the final game of the season. Yes, Buffalo only scored 20 on them, but that was with Buffalo doing their weird thing, which we can get to in a minute, where they kind of started running the ball far too much, far too early in that game after getting an early lead. I don't really buy the idea that the Chiefs defense is actually that good. And that's, I think, where it comes down is that if you believe in the Chiefs defense, then yeah, they're going to win this game. I don't think they are. The Bills seem to have found something offensively. They seem to have found not just an identity, but a purpose offensively in a way that they were definitely struggling for, in the middle, late parts of the season. They are a team that is, relying substantially less on, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. They are focusing more on their tight ends, more on their sort of game breakers from the short passing game, right? A lot more James Cook, a lot more Dalton Kincaid, a lot more Khalil Shakir. And they're letting their playmakers be the ones to make the plays, less so than Josh Allen basically having to do his best Brett Favre impression. And I think that is going to be something that finds success. I think that is going to be how the Bills score in this game, and I think that's going to be an effective pathway for them. There is a way to beat the Chiefs through, a very sort of Niners-esque offense, right? A lot of short passing, a lot of getting the ball to playmakers in space and letting them play make in a way that hasn't been the MO of the Bills. It certainly wasn't the MO of the Bills when these two teams played each other, in that famous 13-second Mahomes, field goal drive. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I do not think the Chiefs are a good enough team. I do not think that they have a coherent understanding of who they are and what they want as a football team right now. And no, none of this has to do with fucking Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. That's not the problem. I mean, Travis Kelce is partially the problem, but it's the fact that he's, old. That's the issue, right? Not that he's fucking distracted. But there are, real genuine questions about what the Chiefs offense is in a world where Mahomes can't just bail them out of their own delusion and problems. And as somebody who has seen Aaron Rodgers at his peak struggle with a team building philosophy that is just, hey, here's some guys, make it work. It can happen. It certainly can work, and it can look impressive on a week to week basis. But I think a lot about Rodgers in would have been the 2016 playoffs, January 2016, after the 2015 season. Like, we all remember, that the Arizona game and the drive that was essentially just the two Hail Marys and going to overtime and losing. But, Green Bay also only scored 13 points before that drive. Partially against a Cardinals team that, it's not like anyone acted like that Cardinals team, had a particularly spectacular defense. Mahomes has been failed in roster construction. The theory of trading Tyreek and using the cap space, the picks, and taking flyers on talented guys, it makes sense. I also watched MVS drop 5 touchdowns a season for Green Bay, and I love seeing it for Kansas City now. And that, I mean, it's going to be fun. Straight up to advanced picks are going to be Baltimore, San Francisco, Detroit, Buffalo, ATS, Houston, Niners, Lions, Bills. I don't love taking 3 favorites ATS. I think one of Buffalo or one of Baltimore and San Francisco is gonna have a scare. Weirdly, I think Green Bay has a better chance of delivering the scare, but I also think they also have the better chance of just losing by 45. Because their defense could legitimately give up 60 points in that game. Thanks for listening to this week's mini edition of the Scrimshaw Show. Again, listen to Politics with Justin Robert Young. If you want to hear my thoughts on this week's Iowa caucus and next week's New Hampshire primary, that'll be out Friday. Read my work, scrimshawunscripted.substack.com. Follow me on Twitter at @scrimshaw. Buy my book, Salvation in the Storm. Is there anything else that I should be promoting? Anything else I should be promoting? I did a New Hampshire preview for thelinus.com. Read that. I still think Haley's a value. Spoiler alert. I still think Haley's a value bet. I don't think she is going to win, but, big polling misses are not uncommon in primaries. And I think that there is, I do think there is a chance that DeSantis staying in ends up actually helping Haley in a way that I wasn't really thinking about. I am aware it's possibly copium, but listen to PX3 if you want that theory. Have a good time. Thanks for listening to the show. Subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I really need to start remembering to say that off the top, but leave a comment, do all the things you're supposed to do on YouTube. Thanks.